I want to first talk about what we understand by peace, and then vis-a-vis women and the women's initiative about peace. I want to take up from the previous speaker, she was talking about conflict in society, and I think we need to understand that does peace mean absence of war? Does it mean total elimination of all sorts of conflict? And if so, is that at all desirable? We live in a pluralistic society where different interest group, different people, different ethnicity, gender, color, we're all cohabiting. So a little element of conflict I would like to put to you is inevitable and perhaps is even desirable. Without that conflict, there is not going to be any progress. There needs to be tension. So it's dialectical in nature. So is our objective to eliminate all conflict? And if so, are we then not talking about a totalitarian society? That, I say, this is my view, and everyone conforms. Certainly that is not what democracy is all about. That is not what pluralism is all about. So we have to assume that there is going to be thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and maybe again an antithesis. And that's evolution. That's life going forward. And that's the way of nature. The question, therefore, is what degree of conflict is not desirable? And the element of tolerance. We have to assume that someone else is going to have a different point of view. I've also heard yesterday, we talked about ourselves as the women being the bearer of peace. Now, I want to add a little bit of caution here, if I may. If there's a breach of the peace, who do we then point the finger to? Is it not the woman's fault? And one of the speakers yesterday also talked about the ethics and value to be redefined in society from a woman's perspective. So those are sort of a preliminary predicates and issues I want you to invite you to have an open mind when I would like to then go into some of my thoughts, if Madam Chair allows, some of the thoughts that's been percolating over the last few days, and thinking about peace and the course that I just did, the advanced course, and how do we bring it together within a discourse, a paradigm that is inclusive, because it seems in order to have a continuity, we need to find a matrix of some sort, a jurisprudence, if you like, which is lacking. And my thoughts are not very crystallized yet, but I would like to share that with you. But before that, I want to share a little bit about my own country, Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, you may hear about it, people hear about natural calamities and disasters. But there's another side to it also. It's a country where we do have successes as well. The social indicators are rather high, and internationally acclaimed successes. Whether it is infant mortality rate has gone down, the family planning is a big success. Microcredit, I was with interest listening to some of the microcredit programs happening in Indonesia. The education, in my opinion, it's still low, but it's still considered not bad for girl child. The garments industry, export-led industry. So 1 in every 5 American wears a t-shirt made by the hands of women in Bangladesh. So these are some of the success stories of Bangladesh, and whatever the success stories are, I'm proud to say the lioness' share of the credit goes to the women of Bangladesh. We have already broken the glass ceiling 6 times over. Both our Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, are women. And both of them have been Prime Ministers 3 times over. So, it's a country of contradictions, it's a country of extremes, and like women, it's mysterious. So while this is the, one can come to a conclusion, it's a very rosy picture. On the other hand, the challenge is the day-to-day living and the lives of women, and how to actualize the guarantees that are enshrined in the Constitution, which is the de jure status, into a de facto equality and the struggle with life. So, what we find is that in order to have peace, the various pressure groups, the very interest groups in the society that we were talking about in a pluralistic society, there needs to be some minimum content for all. If there's imbalance, it spills over into a degree of conflict which is not desirable. Whether it's a violent uprising, arms uprising, violence against women, that is quite random. So, as women, often the message to us that you're the homemaker, you're the peacemaker. In order to keep the peace, hush up, endure, shh, don't create trouble. And I'd like to again put to you, is that the kind of peace? Is that his peace? Is this what we mean by peace? In the old days, in the days of the king, we used to say, don't breach the king's peace. So you had the king's armies go and shut any voice of dissident or any protest. That's one way of keeping peace, if this is what we understand by peace. So there's an underlying factor with peace, which goes hand in hand with justice. So unless we are ready to redress the imbalance and bring about the justice that is not there, we are not going to find sustainable peace. Just as we talk about sustainable development, I think we should also talk about sustainable peace. Otherwise, what we do is, a totalitarian regime, whether it's in the family, I'm the head of the family, I'm the boss, what I go say. That's it. No more argument, that's it. I could, same in a totalitarian state. If I run an office, I could be the boss. And I can keep the peace in that sense. But that's not what we mean by peace, do we? And as women, often we take on that subservient role when at the face of abuse, at the face of persecution, because we don't want to disturb the peace. Now here, that is where the challenge for a lot of the women. Because if we endure it, we are endorsing the inequality, the persecution, the violence, and we are not only endorsing it for us, we are endorsing it for our families, for our society, and the standard and the norms that we set. So yesterday someone said that Martin Luther King said that what is unfortunate is not bad people doing bad things, but good people witnessing it and remaining silent and not doing anything about it.